So all you are today. Simple words, yet very, very deep. All you are today. So that means in this moment, the possibility, the probability, the idea, the state of being that we are all seeking, which is that enlightened state, exists right in this moment. It is not something that is in the future. It's not in the past. It's not in meeting a person. It's not doing a particular spiritual practice. It is a state of being that exists right now. It has always been right now. It will always be right now. It can never be any place but now. So what does it mean? This has been the question that's been coming out from mankind, from humankind, from womankind for centuries and centuries, as long as we've been alive, is what is enlightenment? What does it mean to see the light? What does it mean to be the light? You see, it's not about seeing it. You notice that first statement came out, it felt like there was something outside. But when you become the light, you are enlightened. Becoming the light, what does that mean then? It means to be so centered in the oneness of life that there is no perspective of duality. You see everything in harmony, coming together in such a way that there is no distinction, but you see a harmonious effort of zillions and zillions of ideas and people and planets and stars, and all of it expressing in its oneness. You see, when I move my arm like this, the trillions of cells in my body are all in oneness, doing one thing, causing this movement. So when I'm going like this, not only am I doing this, but the allness of the cosmos, the allness of God, the allness of Source are all moving in that direction. The idea is that when a butterfly flaps its wings on one part of the world, it shifts to another part. You see, everything is about the interconnectedness of all things. This is the idea of the Christ consciousness, the Buddha consciousness, the state of oneness, being one with Source, living in the vortex, finding out how the law of attraction works. Take whatever words you want to use, but it's in the state of connection and oneness that all of the transformation takes place. And yet we're surrounded in every moment by things that cause us to feel separation. Things that say that we are not like this person, that we're not connected, that this person is different, that this event doesn't affect me, this event does affect me. Everything is connected to us. That's what we have to embody. Until we embody that, not only have we not embodied enlightenment, we've not embodied love. Every great spiritual teacher that has ever walked the planet is always talking about this idea that love is the greatest commandment that ever could be given to humankind. It's the greatest advice. It means loving God, loving the allness of all things. And when you love the allness of things, then you have to love yourself. And in the having to love yourself, you have to love your neighbor, because you cannot be in allness without the other two aspects of love. And in that state of allness, where are you? You're in the now, and you're enlightened. One of the things that I've really come to understand is that this journey of enlightenment is a process. And it happens for everyone in different ways. Sometimes it's an event that just happens and the shift is right there. Or it's a gradual process that is being built through a daily practice of thought, through spiritual practice and other aspects like this. And then it could be an event. I know that when Ernest Holmes, one of the great teachers of metaphysics, when he was 80 years old, he was up in front of a large group of people speaking, and he'd been doing meditation and prayer all of his life. He was deep immersed in it, and he was looking to find, to see, to experience this divine connection, this divine beingness, this state of enlightenment. And as he was talking that day, he just stopped. And he said, the veil has been lifted. And he walked off stage. And that was the last time he spoke to a group. And what came from that was he saw beyond the appearance. In that moment, in looking at the people, he was able to see the connection, the fullness, the oneness, the allness of life. Think about Jesus. When Jesus was on the cross, as the story goes, he was there and he was able to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Why did he say that? Because in the saying of that, he was able to see the oneness of all life. He was able to see that even those Jewish people who had persecuted him, the Romans who were instruments of the persecution, for the doubters, the slackers, and all of these other people, he said, they know not what they do. They are living in a state of what? Ignorance. Ignorance of what? Truth. What is truth? We are all one. That's the beauty of it. When we come back to oneness, we realize that there is no separation. This idea of no separation happens in our lives all the time. We like to talk about the idea that, or I talk about the ideas that no matter where I go, there'll be someone there to press my button. You ever have that happen? In my latest excursion around the world to do nothing, I thought in this state of pure bliss, of meditation and that I would be able to not find that button pusher. And lo and behold, just in the moment when you think it's not going to happen, lo and behold, the button pusher comes out. And they press that button. And what was so beautiful that I got to observe myself is that because of the deep meditation, I was able to be outside watching me interacting with this individual. And when this individual said something and the ego mind of Lee wanted to literally rip the lungs from within her throat out and throw them on the ground and give them to the cows for food, the other mind of God, the all mind of God said to me, don't you understand that you are one with this individual? Don't you understand that if you are expressing love, you will give this person a lesson that will change their lives? Don't you understand that if you stop thinking from your ego, you will achieve everything you've come here for? And because I didn't react to what was said, and this is what meditation does, it buys you time. It buys you that time so you don't react. Because I was able to respond when that other voice, that bigger voice within me said, don't do anything, I was able to look at this woman in the eyes, realize that she was in a different place, and turn around and just walk away. You've heard me say this before. The only time we argue with someone, the only time we get into this bantering is when we're trying to convince ourselves. Because when we know something, when we truly know something at the core of who we are, there is never a reason to go any further with the conversation. Speak your word, and if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. You see, that's where the enlightenment is. So when Jesus came and he went to the mountain and he spoke to the from the mountain, and he had 9,000 people, and 3,000 got it, and 3,000 were in doubt, and 3,000 were mocking, Jesus was not concerned. He accepted it all as is and now moved to the next mountain, taking the 3,000 that got it, because at any moment in our lives, there are people that are going to be vibrating at different levels of consciousness. Levels of consciousness, levels of enlightenment. There's no difference between those two things. It's all about awareness, and it's all going back to the awareness of oneness. What's really fascinating when you start breaking it down, if everything is about the level of awareness and about being in one, now you have to go back, okay, if that's the end goal, Do our spiritual practices support us getting to that goal? Is our way of life supporting us, getting us to a greater awareness? So we ask those questions. And so when we think about it, the benefits of meditation, or of three things about becoming enlightened, are we become aware of life as it is. We become aware that life is always happening around us, and everything it's in divine rhythm. Everything is in a natural process. There's nothing good or bad. It's all one massive thing, intertwined, becoming more. Because the world and the cosmos is infinite. It's always going to be more. To be in that state of accepting things as it is the meditation state. In the meditation state, when you quiet that mind and you go into that pure thought, into that pure connection, there is no discernment, there is no judgment, there is no contrast. You've eliminated and you've gone into oneness where the allness of the divine, the allness of source must be, because the allness of source cannot know anything other than itself, because there's nothing outside of itself, which means it doesn't experience consciousness. So God is not judging, God is not experiencing, because in the allness it just is. So to get into the state of enlightenment is to get into the state of isness. Isn't that great? I'm in isness. There's a little town, where is it outside New York? Is it Izmit? Something like that. I forget where it is. Izmit or something like that. I was there and they have an airport there. Izmit. Fast. I love to be in Iz. You know, my Stephen was born in Tampa, so he's a tampon. So how would you like to have that on your resume? What are you? I'm a tampon? Well, no. I'm a Michigander by birth. I'd rather be a gander than a... Anyway. I understood at the Texas legislature when you were going in the other day, it was okay to go in if you had with your gun on, if you had a gun permit, but with all the ladies, they made them empty their purses and they took away all their tampons. Isn't that incredible? It's just fascinating. See, I'm not in judgment about that. I'm just simply saying we are one funny race. Think about it. My God, what's worse, if someone pulls out a gun and shoots a legislature, or by God, they come out and they throw tampons at them? It's flying. My God, we're getting bombarded with them. How's that going to hurt? I don't know. I'll let your minds create an imagination of that. I want you to know, and right now, that was a very enlightened moment. Because where were we? We were fully present in the now, weren't we? So being enlightened is not a serious moment. Are you hearing that? So many times we've confused enlightenment with being so pious and serious, because that has been the race consciousness in which we've been raised in. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And if your fingers weren't just right, Sister Mary Gertrude would take a pointer and just whack the hell out of them. I've got my Catholic ingrained in me through the pointer, because Sister Marie Gertrude loved the pointer. But you see, that was not what enlightenment is. It is not about being perfect, because you are perfect now. It's about accepting that you're perfect now. And it is about living from that perfection now. And it means that God is about joy. Being in oneness cannot be painful. Pain is a sign that we're out of joy. We're out of oneness. It's simply a tool that has been created to guide us back to a state of bliss. To think that when we're in this state of creating all the time, that we're going to be able to take out contrast is a misnomer. To think there are not going to be moments when we're not going to feel pain. To think there's not going to be moments where we're not going to judge, that's totally wrong. We're going to. We are in this humanness so that we can come back to our oneness. And it is the coming back to the oneness that we have the journey of life. And you get it? It's about the journey. It is so about the journey. Right now, Deja's in a journey of pregnancy. It's not about her giving birth. It's about her being present as she creates this child within her and loves this child even before she knows its name. Even before she knows what it looks like. She just knows there's a twinkle of a feel of something happening in her. At first, she probably thought it was gas. And so when I get gas, I just imagine it's a child being born. And my children are not that good looking, but anyway, I'm on a roll today. You're not that child I'm talking about, son. Yeah, the male humor just keeps going back to that, doesn't it? And there's a lot of women laughing, so I think there's a male aspect in the ladies here too. So it's about this inner connection. You see, when we're having the experience, can we go to the inner connection and we come from that and live from it and be in the moment with it? When we were in India and we were exposed to the idea for the very first time that we were in the midst of a natural catastrophe that was beyond anything that's been experienced in that region before, immediately everyone went into fear. And we had just come out of deep meditation. I can remember just taking a deep breath. And I literally put a grin on my face. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I smiled. And I said, an adventure. How cool is this that we're having this adventure? And that's what it became. You see, it was the intent that I knew that I was there to have an experience. Remember, I went there. All of you have been to Agape for a while. Know that my intention for India was that it would be life transformational, that it would be an adventure. It would cause me to see life differently, that I would go beyond and be unattached. Well, I set the intention, and this is the beauty about being enlightened. It's about being there when things are happening, not the way that you expected them to happen, to realize that it's all perfect and that the intention would be worked out and satisfied better than I could have thought of it. And that's exactly what happened. But you see, the clarity that we forget to do is we say that our prayers are not always being answered. But the question is, an enlightened person knows that there's a power and a presence that's everywhere all the time, and they're going to be really clear about giving this power and presence what it is they want. So when we're not getting what we want, we're not getting what we've chosen, we're not getting what we're affirming, we're not getting what we're praying for, it's because we're not clear enough. Because when we are so clear that there is no doubt about what it is we want, and we go into that state of meditative bliss where we're in the oneness, it happens. It will happen every time, 100% guaranteed. People in this new thought movement fall away because they don't want to take the personal responsibility. They think they cannot do this. And I want to tell you, you wouldn't be here if you weren't the image and the likeness of God, because God is all there is. And being that image, all the power that it is with you. And all you've got to do is make the decision to choose it, to create it, and to live it. It's that simple. But it's not up to Gene as a practitioner. It's not up to me as a minister. It's not up to other people. It is up to you. Now, the other people are there to support you, because in the aspect that we can see the God in you, that's the enlightenment aspect. To see God in you is an enlightenment state. And if we can see the God in you when you're not there, then we can raise each other in consciousness to become the oneness, to get more clear. And isn't this great? That's why we have relationships. Do you get it? Relationships are there for two reasons only: to support and grow us. They're to support us in our allness and oneness, and they're to grow us by forcing us, do you hear the word force? You can change it to any word you want, to get clear. See, if you're in a relationship with someone and it ain't working out, it's because you haven't been clear enough. You haven't been clear enough with yourself, you haven't been clear enough with the other person, and they haven't been clear enough with you. Until there's the clarity, it cannot work, because you're leaving too much to chance. And then you're subject to the law of averages. That's what chance is. Chance is the law of average. So what is the collective consciousness that is around? And if you're not giving it a direct picture of what you want, you're going to get the average experience. And that can be good, that can be bad, or it could be right in the middle. But you see, an enlightened person knows that they can get anything they want if they will just be selfish. Do you hear that word? Selfish. And say, I know I'm the oneness with God. I know what I want, and here's what I want, and I claim it. Because until you become selfish in this respect about knowing your oneness with God and being enlightened, you cannot help another. Because the degree that you can show love, the degree that you can be joyful, the degree that you can be giving is only equal to the degree that you become that. Everything comes back to you. That's why the greatest definition of God is I am that I am. Because behind the I am, you are saying the greatest prayer in the world. Whatever you put behind that I am, you will become. That is why, as I've been talking the last 3 weeks, I've really gotten into my malas. These are mala beads, 108 beads, that's all they are. No specialness about the beads at all, but every day I'm taking these out. I am a magnificent and joy-filled expression of love. I am a magnificent and joyful expression of love, 108 times. Then I go, the divine wisdom is flowing through me in every moment, and I hear it and I listen to it every time I do. 108 times. I live in perfect health with my body senses functioning easily and effortlessly, 108 times. What am I doing? I am giving clarity to the law. I am being specific about what I'm asking for. I am shifting belief. I am causing the process of enlightenment to happen within me. And I do this for other people as well. So I can be there and I'll say, I see the truth about Jean and her perfect body and her perfect health. Or I could see Stephen and his divine wisdom flowing through him and guiding him in every moment of every day toward his highest calling. And when I do that, what am I doing? I'm shifting my consciousness. I'm pushing aside all of the false beliefs, all of the nonsense that I've allowed to come into my mind that are confusing the experience that I want to have with people in my world. And when I get clear, then my experience can only be what I'm putting out there. Until I have the experience that I want, I continue to do the work of meditation, of prayer, of affirmation, of gratitude, so that I take the responsibility of being that creator, and I will not allow anything to deter me from my power. You see, it's my power, and it's not me, Lee, doing it. It's me in my oneness with all that is doing it. Because it's the power of the divine that created the cosmos that I am directing with my word, with my thought, with my actions. And you cannot separate thought, word, and actions. So let me talk about addictions. I'm on a roll today. Addictions. If we're drinking, if we're smoking dope, if we're smoking cigarettes, if we're having sex because it's an addiction, we're not in oneness. Because you can't be conscious in those states of altered state. You cannot possibly be consciousness of oneness. And if you're not consciousness of oneness, your power is mitigated. When your power is mitigated, you are not creating your life. You are open to the subject of chance. It became so clear for me when I started saying, why am I not drinking anymore? Because I realized just that little bit of dullness in my mind stopped me from the potential of becoming a greater idea of expressing pure oneness. I couldn't get there. I was numbing myself. And it's not just drinking, it's drugs, it's shopping, it's anything that causes your mind to dummy down, to numb itself so that you're not aware. You see, the ultimate goal is to experience oneness, because when we experience oneness, there is nothing better. There is nothing in the world better. I can share with you that when the deepest I've gotten was I was hypnotized to do a past life regression. And the hypnotism is a simple state that's very much like meditation. But in this state, for whatever reason, the day I was in this state, I have never experienced the euphoria of being at one like I did that day. And so I now have a mental image in my mind what that is like, and I'm now taking steps to clarify, how do I get there? How do I take myself to that state? Because in that state, I totally lost the ability to discern anything other than pure bliss. And then when information was coming to me, it was not from my ego mind, it was from a mind that was so much greater, I could tell. It was tapped into divine wisdom. That's the state of enlightenment. And we can get there in any moment if we just practice. You see, spiritual practice, the beauty of it is, it's not just to get you to enlightenment. It's not just to get you into oneness. But spiritual practice says physical, emotional benefits that are beyond belief. Your health will be transformed amazingly as you meditate and you pray. When I got off the helicopter, having been evac'd, and we went to the army camp that we were at, and we had our blood pressure, my blood pressure was 112/72. This is after having gone through all of this trauma that was there, hiking across the Himalayas, not knowing anything, being on a helicopter to an airport where you know nobody, you can't speak the language. There was zero fear because the state of meditation came in. Now, the partner I was with, blood pressure was 150/100. Very different experience. But you see, the level of spiritual practice was very different too. So the benefit is there when you do the practice. It's not about the mind. This ego mind, is going to fool you. It's going to tell you not to do things. It's going to say, let's logically make this association that's different than this. Let's just talk about this. Let's just think about this. No, it's not about that. It's about you going within you and being still with all that you are and all that exists, coming into that oneness, and from there getting clear about what it is you want, and from that point thinking only thoughts that are directed in the direction of what you want, followed by words that are directed in the direction of what you want, followed by actions that are directed in the direction of what you want. And now you've been in a state of enlightenment because you are clear with the way you're directing the power of the law. When we do that, nothing can stop what we create. The key is, can we do that and be in the midst of everyone else? That's the beauty. There was a picture on one of these successory type posters, and it was of this huge cliff and this huge waterfall coming down from the cliff. And there at the very top, right below the waterfall, with the water coming down, was an eagle's nest with an eagle in it. And they said, when you can be there and you can be at peace, you've achieved it all. You see, in the midst of all of that water, all of that height, all of that what would be turmoil, to be still and to simply know the truth in that moment. It's pretty easy to come to Agape on a Sunday and sit back and feel the truth. But when you're on Facebook later today and there's all this controversy going on, are you going to express truth? Are you going to see truth? Are you going to hear truth? Or are you going to allow the drama to unfold? That's a choice of enlightenment. That's a choice of how we grow. That's a choice of how we allow the joy to come into our life. So what is enlightenment? Enlightenment is really simply this. It's living in a state of oneness. It's a natural process, and it is a process. I don't believe we come here and we're enlightened. I don't think once we become enlightened, we stay enlightened. I don't think we would be in human body. I think enlightenment is a moment-by-moment decision. Love is a moment-by-moment decision. Joy is a moment-by-moment decision. And so it is a moment-by-moment decision of, do we look at things from the perspective of all that is, of oneness, of interconnectivity. Most importantly, I ask you to develop a practice that when you are in the midst of the turmoil, of the conflict, of the contrast, can you pause? Can you pause and see the beauty of life? Can you see how, no matter what happens, you will never be hurt? You will never be touched because you are an infinite, ever-expanding being that is fully 100% God. You can never be hurt. And in that, there can be no fear. Because in that state, you have now reached that point of consciousness that everyone seeks to reach, and that is enlightenment. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.